Well, hi everyone. Thank you so much for joining. So I've spent this past year with GrizzlyCorps at Pie Ranch, working on the Cascade Regenerator program. And this photo is a photo I took overlooking Cascade Ranch from the hill. And as you can see, it is such a beautiful ranch. It's very close to the ocean in Pescadero, California. It's also a huge property. It's 418 acres in total. So Pie Ranch is an organic, nonprofit educational farm in Pescadero with a mission of creating a healthy and just food system from seed to table through food education, farmer pathways, and regional partnerships. And this photo on the right is a staff photo of all of our lovely staff from our staff retreat. Pie Ranch and Cascade Ranch lie on the traditional and unceded lands of the Curcio tribe, of whom there are no known descendants. So today these lands are represented by the Amamutsin tribal band and the Amamutsin Land Trust. And they invite all other Ohlone and Indigenous tribes and allies to join them in their stewardship efforts to honor the Curcio people. Today, the landscape looks nothing like it used to. The Curcio people stewarded these lands to promote extensive coastal prairie, mainly through the use of fire. And coastal prairies are a disturbance-dependent ecosystem, so they need consistent burning. However, after Spanish and European colonization, burning was prohibited and the coastal prairie has been encroached upon by Douglas fir and coastal scrub to kind of what we see today. And now the coastal prairies are a threatened ecosystem. So I think understanding the history of this land and its people is very important for informing our concept of stewardship and justice in the food system. Pie Ranch has had an ongoing relationship with the Amamutsin tribal band since 2014. And through this partnership, they've created a collectively tended native garden at Pie Ranch. Facilities at Pie Ranch are used for tribal gatherings, and the Amamutsin Land Trust Native Plant Propagation Project is hosted at Cascade Ranch. So the Cascade Regenerator program is a program of Pie Ranch at a neighboring ranch, Cascade. As you can see on the map, this is the overview of the ranch. And the Cascade Regenerator program has the goal of providing pathways to emerging and under-resourced farmers and ranchers by providing affordable access to start or expand their small farm businesses, tailored mentorship, technical guidance, discounted access to equipment and infrastructure, connections with sales and marketing opportunities, and financial and business planning. So we currently have 3 farming entities in the program, and we call them regenerators. We also have a goal of integrating natural and working lands with a nuanced understanding of land stewardship. We have been transitioning the land from conventional farming practices to organic regenerative practices and want to weave in traditional ecological knowledge and support biodiversity through our stewardship practices. You can see the map on the left that we are leaving some areas as habitat, including the riparian corridor of Cascade Creek, which is blue on the map, grassland, which is yellow, coastal scrub, which is gray on the map, and we also have some wetland areas close to the creek. Another one of our goals is climate resilience, which involves sequestering carbon, providing farmers in the program with tools to cope with the changing environments, and fire resilience. Our last goal as a program is collaboration and program development, as the Cascade Regenerator program is still being developed and expanded. And we hope to utilize the best available knowledge, foster research with universities, leverage strategic partnerships, and review and assess the program with the Cascade Leadership Council. So I want to give you just a sense of the natural beauty at Cascade. It is truly incredible, and I feel very lucky to have been working here this past year. So this is just some of the wildlife at Cascade. We have Cascade Creek, grassland, some of the wildflowers that pop up in the spring. This is a bird that flew into the office one time, and we also do see rattlesnakes quite a bit. So that's a photo that I got. So the capacity building goals that I focused on for my service term were creating an environmental stewardship plan. Some of the notable parts of this project included soil sampling and creating a carbon farm plan for Cascade with the San Mateo Resource Conservation District, or RCD. I also worked on education and outreach, which included co-organizing an event in partnership with the Amamutsan Land Trust and EcoFarm, and taking on the duty of liaison with the Amamutsan Land Trust Native Plant Propagation Project on site. And lastly, I worked on fire recovery projects from the devastating CZU lightning complex fires of 2020 and fire resilience planning, including building defensible space and removing invasive plants from the riparian corridor. So the environmental stewardship plan is a living document. It's intended for internal purposes and to share with research partners and to identify opportunities for conservation, carbon sequestration, and climate resiliency. So it includes information about the site and infrastructure, the history of the land from when it was part of Curcio tribal territory through the Spanish and Mexican eras, and when it was part of the Steele family dairy operation, which was one of the largest dairy operations at the time. It also includes information about natural resources on site, including water, soil and air, arable land, crops, rotational grazing, and integrated pest management, and the different conservation areas on the ranch that will be left as habitat, and lastly, climate change and disturbance factors to consider, like fire. And I think this quote is a great summary of the vision behind the environmental stewardship plan. Imagine a real integration between the working landscape and natural lands, the two blending together gradually and working together to provide for each other. So creating the environmental stewardship plan has involved pulling together a variety of information that we've collected about Cascade. And so these are just a few examples. So we purchased a trimmable GPS device for the program, so we can map fields, conservation areas, irrigation lines, etc., to create accurate maps for Cascade. We also have arable devices in each field, which collect climate, crop condition, irrigation, and soil information that is useful for the farmers to make decisions. I took soil samples in each field this past winter to collect baseline soil fertility information, so we can see the impact of our regenerative practices on the soil health over the years as we continue to sample. The RCD conducted a monarch assessment to see if we had good overwintering habitat on site. The environmental stewardship plan also has included a lot of farm planning. So I included a photo of my coworker, Rosanna, mapping out the fields and figuring out the field nomenclature in the office. And this plan also includes all the information that we've received from our partnerships with research institutions. So for example, we had students from the Science of Soils class at Stanford come to take soil samples from soil pits in a couple locations to study. So we have also been working with the San Mateo RCD to create a carbon farm plan for the Cascade Ranch, and this will fit into the environmental stewardship plan as a chapter. So the carbon farm plan process is a creative planning exercise to identify the potential ways that we can sequester carbon on the farm, including practices such as windbreaks, hedgerows, riparian restoration, reduced tillage, compost, cover crop, and silvopasture, to name a few. So this process has included an initial site visit from the RCD, a habitat assessment, a natural resource assessment, soil pit sampling at different depths, and working with the RCD to plan out what's possible and realistic for us to do at Cascade to improve carbon sequestration. So the Cascade Regenerator Program is a bit of a unique operation that doesn't quite fit into the typical carbon farm plan, since it's usually completed with the farmer or landowner, and we have multiple farmers in the program that stay for a duration of 3 to 5 years. But with the carbon farm plan, we want to create a model that can be understood and experienced by the regenerators so they can opt to use it in the future and know what to expect. And we also want to demonstrate the value of having a carbon farm plan in the climate conditions that we face and the potential future regulatory environment of carbon emissions. And right now, creating a carbon farm plan does not come with a direct source of funding to implement these practices, but we want to show the value of regulating water and carbon usage to the farmers in the program, and we hope to see more funding of these practices in the coming years. So these are just some examples of the maps prepared by the RCD for the carbon farm plan. So if you look at the soil map on the left side, you can see that there are 3 main soil types in our fields. And so we use this information to collect soil samples from soil pits in these 3 different soil types to see the difference in organic carbon, bulk density, and soil texture, since soil type and texture can also impact soil carbon sequestration ability. And this information can be helpful for farmers in the program to make decisions about what to grow where and consider the soil type. You can also see on the enhanced life forms map on the right side, the extent of invasive eucalyptus on the property. It's shown in pink. And you can also see the different habitats and vegetation types in the natural areas of the property. So my second capacity building goal was education and outreach, and organizing this event was a huge part. So the event is called Honoring Ancestral Foodways, Indigenous Land Rematriation, and Regenerative Food Production. And it was held this past May in partnership with the Amamutsun tribal bands and land trusts and EcoFarm. So I made this map for the EcoFarm brochure. So you can see these are all the areas that the guests visited throughout the event. We gave tours of both Pie Ranch and Cascade Ranch. We had breakout workshops centering around accessing and rematriating land, stewarding land, and growing food sovereignty. And we had a discussion portion at the end of the event. We had speakers from the Amamutsun tribal bands, Amamutsun Land Trust, Deep Medicine Circle, Pie Ranch, state parks, and UC Berkeley. And all of these speakers just had incredible wisdom to share. So these are some photos of the event to give you an idea of what it was like. We did have over 100 guests. And so we started the event gathering at the native garden at Pie Ranch. And guests were introduced to the relationship between Pie Ranch and the Amamutsun tribe. And this also featured the signing of the revised Memorandum of Understanding between the Land Trust and Pie Ranch. And at the event, guests were able to walk through the native garden at Pie Ranch and the native plant propagation beds at Cascade Ranch, and just see for themselves the fruits of this partnership over the years. So throughout my time at Cascade, I've also taken on the role of liaison between the Amamutsun Land Trust Native Plant Propagation Project on site, where they've actually propagated over 100,000 native grasses in beds at Cascade Ranch at this point. And then they scatter the seeds and plant new plugs in Curcio Valley, which is a cultural preserve just north of Cascade that is being co-managed by the tribe and state parks to restore the coastal prairie. And so you can see the image on the right is a photo I took of Curcio Valley when we took a tour. And so there is some coastal prairie, but it has been encroached upon by Douglas fir and coastal scrub. So my third capacity building goal was fire recovery and planning. And so we experienced the CZU lightning complex fires of 2020. It was the most devastating fire in this area in recent history. And it caused damage to both Cascade Ranch and Pie Ranch that we are still recovering from. So you can see the present day fire scar 2 years later is still very apparent. Most of these dead trees are Douglas fir, which is a native species that encroaches in the absence of fire. When they experience fire, the mortality rate is very high. So there hadn't been a significant fire in many years. And so the hills had become dominated by Douglas fir. So we work on a weekly basis with Youth Corps. Youth Corps is a pilot program of Pie Ranch that gives young people who are high school or college aged experience working on a farm. So we've worked with Youth Corps on a variety of fire recovery and resilience projects, including cleanup from the fire and building defensible space around the buildings at Cascade and the different infrastructure. After experiencing the fire, we have really worked to be prepared for future fires and build resilience on the property. So we've also started a riparian invasive removal project with Youth Corps, and we hope to add volunteers to this project soon. So we have a large amount of eucalyptus in the riparian corridor, which is a fire promoting invasive from Australia. And all of it burned in the fire, so it has resprouted a ton, and we have a lot of young eucalyptus to pull out, as well as older eucalyptus to eventually cut down. We have also been focusing our efforts on removing Cape ivy, English ivy, Jubata grass, poison hemlock, calla lily, and gopher plant. And so you can see we pulled out the Cape ivy pretty recently, and now we're monitoring the area to make sure that it doesn't come back. And after pulling out these invasives, we hope to restore the riparian corridor with native species like willow and red alder, and we hope to work with the tribe on this in the future. So I wanted to end with this concept because I've been very inspired by the work of Lamamutsun tribe and the relationship between Pie Ranch and the tribe. Kincentricity is a concept from traditional ecological knowledge or indigenous knowledge built over generations that basically plant and animals and the life surrounding is seen as kin, and therefore it's important to respect and protect your living relatives. And I've learned so much over this past year, and I hope to continue to deepen my understanding. I think this concept is so important for environmental work, and it has really informed my perspective. So I wanted to end on this slide to say my thank yous. Helping out with animals at Pie Ranch has been such a highlight of my experience. We had baby chicks and baby goats this spring, and so I've been helping to take care of them. These are just a couple photos. They're super cute. And I just wanted to say thank you to Leonard Diggs. He's my supervisor and the director of farming and ranching opportunities at Pie Ranch. Amber Schatt, my former supervisor, who's now the wildfire resilience specialist at CAP. Rosanna Petralia, she's our agriculture and natural resources conservation specialist at Pie Ranch. I want to thank all the staff at Pie Ranch. Everyone has been so welcoming, and it's been so great to work with you all, and so great to work for such a committed organization. I want to thank Michelle and Eliza from GrizzlyCorps and all my family and friends and the GrizzlyCorps fellows who have made this year such a great experience. And I believe I have time for questions if there are any.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. Yeah, we're running slightly behind schedule, but we still have time if folks want to ask Jasmine any questions or send any celebrations her way. So feel free to put your questions or congratulations in the chat or raise your hand if you'd like to say something. Thank you, Jasmine.
Yeah, it looks like John Sanchez, do you have your hand raised?